The only way to unwind it is for the people who've been saying it, chiefly the president and the vice president, to go on TV and say, you know what? We went too far, and what we said, honestly, is not true. The country will not end.
Okay, Scott, I think the Democrats will tamp down their language about Trump the moment Trump tamps down his language about the Democrats, about immigrants, about people of color, about women, and not a moment before.
What about how many times are we going to shoot at him?
The statement that Trump is a threat to democracy has been repeated every single day since he was elected president back in 2016. Now we are seeing the effects of that when we have a second assassination attempt on his life. So what we're going to do in this video is look at these reactions, and we're going to debunk the lies along with Scott Jennings, who we know is the only person with common sense left on the mainstream media. Let's start here.
Actually agree. It's going to, I'm sure some people will be surprised by this, by at least the effort. I think it's right to sort of lower the temperature. But for Donald Trump and his folks to say, and J.D. Vance to say that it's Democrats who are causing this.
Right, you just heard J.D. Vance say that.
That's an issue. I wrote down some notes when I saw it. Do you mind if I read this?
Yeah, no, because you know what? Actually, I want you to know you were sitting just off.
I was just sitting
offset when we played the J.D. Vance.
And I'll just get through some of it. So he's called everyone who works in this building the enemy of the people.
Yep.
Right? We had pipe bombs sent because he kept calling us the enemy of the people, and that CNN was fake news. Crooked Joe, Crooked Hilary, Crooked Kamala, Comrade Kamala, deranged Jack Smith, bird brain Nikki Haley, bloodbath if he's not elected. There won't be another election if he's not elected. Bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, poisoning the blood of our country, destroying the blood of our country, which was something that was Hitler-esque. Communist, Marxist, fascist, left-leaning that live like vermin. Sons of bitches to NBA players. Shithole countries. Haiti was one, and now he's blaming Haitian immigrants for things. Blood coming out of her wherever, as he talked about Megyn Kelly. And so if Donald Trump wants Kamala Harris and others to stop saying that he is a threat to democracy, then he should stop threatening democracy. Perhaps he shouldn't be trying to overturn elections, overthrow the government, and inciting insurrections if he doesn't want people to be honest about what he is, who he is, and what he's doing.
Okay, Clown Lemon. Let's look at the statements that, the Democrats have made repeatedly for so many years now. Trump is a threat to our democracy and our fundamental freedoms, right? It's time to put Trump in the bullseye, okay? Trump and MAGA Republicans are a threat to the very soul of this country. See, the Democrats are using the word threat. If you're calling someone a communist or a Marxist, that's not violent, okay? It's a political statement that you're making, all right? Enemy of the people still, you could argue, is not violent language. It is true. The media is the enemy of the people because they don't stand for the truth. There is no journalism left with the mainstream media. We know this. I mean, they'd be better just admitting that they are more opinionated than they are based around facts. Let's see here. Trump is an existential, urgent threat to our democracy. Oh, here it is. Trump is an enemy of the United States, right? I mean, come on. Trump is the gravest threat to our democracy. Adam Pencil Schiff, right? Trump remains the greatest threat to our democracy. Trump and his extreme right-wing followers pose a threat to our democracy. It's the same statement every single time. Listen, we know what Don Lemon's doing. This is his chance to get a little shine, right, after he was fired from CNN. So, he's doing whatever he can do to try to stay relevant, but he isn't, clearly. And so it takes us to this reaction.
It was shocking to me that it was 500 yards. And I thought that it was an important thing that they noticed the barrel of a gun through a fence 500 yards away. So in that respect, they were doing their jobs, right, in that respect. But what is so offensive to me, and it is also because they're saying it's very hard to secure a golf club, golf course, when those courses are sometimes on highways and it's very difficult. But that doesn't really matter when it comes to protecting a former president or a future president. Mm-hmm. I will say this. I am so saddened and disturbed by the fact that political violence is so normalized in this country. It's something that I think we started seeing when Steve Scalise was injured. And then I think we saw more of it, especially with Nancy Pelosi's husband. And so it's on both sides of the aisle. It's all over the country. And I was just reading this morning, a recent University of Chicago poll examined support for political violence in the United States. And there is more support for violence today against Trump and others. Against Trump, 10% of American adults think it's okay. And 26 million American adults who support violence to prevent Trump from regaining the presidency. More than 30,000 of those own guns, and almost 80% have access to internet organizational tools. That's despicable.
Listen, I want to play that clip because I thought it was rich coming from someone as deranged as Sunny Holston, of course, someone who I consider to be a racist, for sure. I think she's made plenty of racist statements. I think that she believes she is superior in some shape or form, and that white men and white women who listen to their white husbands are less than. These are her words, by the way. And so I find it to be very rich that she's now quoting all of that and saying, I think it is despicable. No, ma'am, you are despicable. You're the one that contributes to the rhetoric. What are you talking about? You've said that Trump is a threat to democracy. You wake up and you loathe Trump. You hate Trump. You guys can't wait to say something negative about him on every single episode that you guys host. So what are you expecting to happen? Now, before I show you the clips from Scott Jennings and how he pretty much triggered the entire CNN panel, they exploded on him because he, again, likes to provide common sense into these conversations. Let me show you one of the biggest threats to democracy, according to their standard, Hilary, 30,000 emails, Clinton. Listen to this.
Part of what Trump is counting on is for people to get desensitized. I mean, oh my gosh, did you hear what he said yesterday? Did you hear who he attacked? Did you hear the viciousness? And it just like with a shrug, okay, fine, we're moving on. Well, Americans need to understand that they have to take Trump both seriously and literally. He has said what he wants to do. He and his allies with Project 2025, his desire to be a dictator, at least on day one, all of that is in the public record. And I believe that more Americans have to be, willing to endure what frankly is discomforting and to some extent kind of painful. To take him at his word and to be outraged by what he represents. And then finally, the hopeful side of this is that I do think more and more Americans are, rejecting the kind of chaos that he represents. We can't go back. That's what the Harris campaign says all the time. We're not going back. We're not going back to, what he failed to do to protect American lives during COVID. We're not going back to the, romance with dictators that puts, innocent lives at risk and America's security in danger. We can't go back and give this very dangerous man another chance to do harm to our country and the world.
Well, we already know Hilary. You can't believe anything that she says. She is definitely crooked, and that is not a violent term. That's a political term because she is a crooked politician, and there is receipts to show that, especially when you have classified information on your personal server at home and you bleach or clean those emails so you don't have to turn them into the Department of Justice. Okay, yeah. And then you pay someone to investigate Trump and, cook up this fake dossier to try to meddle in the election. I mean, if that's not crooked, I don't know what is, right? And if a military member, a veteran, had classified information on his or her personal computer, just know that she probably or he probably would have been dishonorably discharged. So there's that. Number one, there was more deaths when it came to COVID under Joe Biden than there was under Trump. Number two, there were 13 service members killed in Afghanistan under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris because of their incompetence on the way that they withdrew. And for all the people in the back that say, well, people also died under Trump. That's why he negotiated with Taliban and gave them a very clear warning. Don't kill any more service members or I will go to your house and I will erase you. They didn't kill another service member under his watch. And what I find funny about the whole dictator thing is, what do you want? You want dictators to just start new wars? Or do you want someone to make sure a dictator doesn't start a new war like what Trump did? Just the arrogance, and that's why she wasn't elected. So I know that was painful, so let's enjoy some common sense for a change. Here's what Scott Jennings had to say.
But the rhetoric is on both sides. It's coming from the right, it's coming from the left.
The rhetoric, they have tried to kill this man twice, okay? He got shot in the ear, and this guy was sitting up shop outside of a golf course to try to kill him this weekend. And I know after something like this happens, it's very fashionable to, talk about rhetoric on both sides. Donald Trump is the target, okay? He's the current target, and it's happening, and it's happened again. And honestly, we have to have a conversation about elections. If you lose an election, the country's not going to come to an end, okay? What I want Democrats to do, honestly, is to say, it's okay. Like, if Donald Trump wins, democracy will not end, the Constitution will not end, we're not going to live in a dictatorship, there will not be a bloodbath. All the things they say that are totally fabricated, to me, it would be a good day to stop doing that.
Now, we know they won't stop doing it because they can't help themselves at this point. There's literally no going back at this point. I mean, they're going to double down, triple down. You just saw Hillary Clinton's statement. You just saw other people who are still obsessed with him, like Don Lemon or Clown Lemon. The entire media, they're still going to repeat these talking points: bloodbath, dictator, fine people, right? They're just going to keep repeating things that have already been debunked, that was taken out of context, but they will never let up. And while they're spending time so focused on him, what they're not doing is spending time applying the same level of criticism to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for their violent rhetoric and the things that they failed to do for the American people over the last 3.5 years. We're talking what? Immigration, the economy, foreign wars. They don't spend much time on that. They spend more time on Trump.
What I mean is, look, when you've had this kind of language about somebody be the underpinning of a campaign for years and intensely for the last several months, the only way to unwind it is for the people who've been saying it, chiefly the president and the vice president, to go on TV and say, you know what? We went too far, and what we said, honestly, is not true. The country will not end.
Okay, I think the Democrats will tamp down their language about Trump. The moment Trump tamps down his language about the Democrats, about immigrants, about people of color, about women, and not a moment before.
What about how many times are we going to shoot at him?
Is your argument literally
Wait a minute, but
that you are not under threat unless somebody directly takes a shot at you? Is that actually what you're saying? Do you have access to Secret Service files about how many threats Harris and Biden have received over the past year? How many threats Barack Obama, the first black president, received for 8 years while he was in the White House? Do you have those Secret Service files, or are you just out here talking because somebody was caught in the bushes on Saturday? If you want something done, if you want to get away from this violence and hatred, the clearest thing to do is to take away the weapons that these people are using to cause the violence and hatred. Rhetoric does not kill people. Guns do.
Rhetoric does not kill people. Guns do. That's that clown's message. And before I share my takeaway, let me play you what he just said over the weekend, by the way.
Everything he does is despicable.
The reason why it doesn't end his career is because his supporters are just as despicable. All right. Like Trump's whole thing, he's a narcissist, right? And so his whole thing is to have a complete lack of compassion and empathy for everybody else. It's all about him.
It's interesting that someone is saying that Trump lacks empathy when clearly in this exchange with Scott Jennings, he has zero empathy when it comes to Trump. If they truly want to see change, it doesn't start with me or you. The change has to come from the top, the commander-in-chief himself. And then it trickles down. Now, I know that's not going to happen, but that's my opinion on this. The media and social media amplifies the rhetoric, whether that is from Trump or that is from Joe Biden and the Democrats. Social media is geared to do what? Keep us on the platform. The algorithm knows that if we take this clip and we push this, this is going to get people to be upset and angry and keep them on the platform. That really is the bigger picture behind what's happening here. and it's really a virus to our society. I'm not too sure there's anything that we can do about it right now. I think the damage has been done, but I do pray that something will be done to make things better. So here are 3 things that I would recommend. And before I say them, understand something. I'm already assuming that they're not going to listen to Scott Jennings and the Democrats are not going to stop. The first thing is just unbiased reporting, or hold all political figures to the same standard that you hold Trump. Anytime that they say something that has already been fact-checked and is false, they need to call it out. I'm talking about CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, all of these people. If they hold everyone else to the same standard that they hold Trump, we would be better off. The second thing, which I don't agree with, but I can understand the reasoning, they should just ban certain political language. You cannot use the word threat. If you're running for president of the United States, in your ads and your campaign, you are not allowed to use the word threat. I don't agree with that because I just think that is censoring free speech at the end of the day, but I could understand it. And the third thing, like I said earlier in the video, is do a joint letter or a joint press conference. Bring all of them together on the same stage and have them deliver a message to everyday Americans. Obviously, they're not going to do any of this. So the only thing that I hope for our country is that we pray for this great country. That's my overall opinion. What's yours? What do you guys think about how the media is tripling down on their rhetoric against Trump? And Scott Jennings on what he had to say about it. What grade would you give Scott Jennings? I mean, this guy, he's been doing a great job, right? I mean, you know, he's the only common sense person left on a fake news channel like CNN. So let me know below. Thank you so much for checking out the video today. Stay grateful, stay focused, and stay true. Peace.